Good evening to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about Women's Reservation Bill, an important editorial and anything related to women important from the exam point of view. That too an editorial related to a reservation bill related to women, very important. And it is in brief. In my opinion, you have to gather more information, acquire more information related to this, and you may get as a passage in the exam. Also, you may get as a topic at the time of descriptive paper, or as a topic at the time of group discussion, or they may ask a few questions at the time of the interview. That way, it is very important. And any editorial that deals with a particular bill will touch initially what it is, and after that, it will provide the background information, and also it will talk about what is good, what is bad, what are the limitations, and what is the response of the opposition, and eventually the stand taken by the editorial, and why it has to be done, how fast it has to be done. This editorial also follows more or less the same pattern, but we'll start with the tone of the editorial. What is the tone of the editorial? As I said, this is all about women's reservation bill. The tone of the editorial is supportive, urgent, and advocating for the immediate passage of the Women's Reservation Bill in its current form. Means what? Without any changes. There are three words. The tone is supportive, it supports the bill. Urgent, it talks about the urgency of the bill to be implemented immediately. And the third one, advocating for the immediate passage of the Women's Reservation Bill in its current form, present form, current form, without any changes. The writer expresses a sense of welcome and approval for the bill, emphasizing the need for increased political representation of women in the Lok Sabha. The tone is also critical, the negative aspect. The tone is also critical of the delays and challenges associated with the bill's implementation, especially its linkage to delimitation and the census. That is a rub. Rub means a problem. Now we'll go to the editorial, see how it starts. A few important words are there, a few important idioms are there. Legislating change on the passage of the Women's Reservation Bill in the Lok Sabha. It's all about Women's Reservation Bill and easy to make out. But what is the main idea of this editorial? The Women's Reservation Bill must be passed in its current form without further delay. There are two dimensions here. One, it says here, whenever you come across the helping verb must, you have to recollect the functions. And we have got so many times. I'm sure you all remember. And here it is in passive voice. They must pass something, active voice. Something must be passed, that is in passive voice. And it expresses obligation imposed by the writer, a personal obligation in this context, obligation imposed by the editorial or the writer. The Women's Reservation Bill must be passed in its current form without any changes, without further delay. There are two dimensions over here. One, the writer says it should be passed immediately in the current form, and also there should not be any further delay. Already it got delayed. They introduced this 3 decades ago. That means 30 years. The passage of the Women's Reservation Bill in the Lok Sabha almost 3 decades later, 3 decades after it was first tabled in Parliament, is a welcome move, a positive development that can finally shatter a political glass ceiling. Here, first you have to know the meaning of the word shatter. Try to guess a part of speech. Shatter means what? Part of speech? Verb. It's a regular verb. Shatter, shattered, shattered. What does it mean? To break. And what is a combination word? Usually it goes with glass. Shatter the glass means what? Break the glass. But sometimes what happens, it also goes with one's confidence. His confidence got shattered. That is also a correct combination. But there's one important idiomatic expression over here, a glass ceiling, but they have used one adjective. What is it? A political glass ceiling. What does it mean? Can you guess the meaning of this idiom? It has to shatter, break a political glass ceiling. That means something negative. What does it mean? It means a barrier, a hurdle, an impediment, a block, a hindrance, a barrier that prevents women from reaching a higher position at the workplace. Today, if you go to the private sector at the workplace, though there are some talented women, they don't get what they deserve. And what is the reason? There's a barrier. What is that barrier? A glass ceiling, barrier that prevents women from reaching a higher position. In this context, a political glass ceiling should be shattered. That can finally shatter, break a political glass ceiling. Important expression you got to remember. With women members of parliament comprising, again, when you come across last week also we got, you have to recollect one consists of, nothing wrong. But when you use the word comprise, do you have to use of or you should not use of? That's a common error. Comprises of, not correct. Comprises something. Ah, very good. When you write all the synonyms, you will be able to remember. Others will also get benefited. I appreciate that, Anisha. Consist of, nothing wrong. Comprise of, not correct. Comprising only about 15% of the strength of the Lok Sabha. The gender inequality in political representation is stark and disturbing. We have got this word also many a time, stark. Guess the part of speech when I write the uh, word stark, part of speech adjective. Stark means distinct, one word. You can also think of the word clear, stark difference, something that shows the outline clearly, demarcates something clearly, distinct or clear. It is stark, crystal clear, and disturbing. The 128th Constitution Amendment Bill or the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam seeks to amend. Seek, we have got so many times. Which part of speech is it? It is a verb. Is it a regular verb or an irregular verb? It is an irregular verb. It does not take D or ED. So, what are the three forms? Seek, sought, sought. It has two different meanings. One, to look for, another, to search for. You can also think of to try for. All these go with the word seek. And those who are watching this, many of the guys who are watching, I'm sure you are all, there's one expression for you guys. What is it? Job seekers. There's an important expression you got to remember. It goes with you people, job seekers. Who is a job seeker? One who is searching for a job, looking for a job. The 128th Constitution Amendment Bill or the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam seeks to amend this, the present situation. 15% it wanted to change by reserving a third of the seats in the Lok Sabha and legislative assemblies for women. That amounts to 33%. It has a 15-year sunset clause. This is again a new expression we have come across for the first time. What does it mean, sunset clause? Here, first, at the outset, you have to know two important grammar terms. One is a phrase, the other one, clause. What is a phrase? It's a group of words that make sense but incomplete sense, and it does not have a verb. On the other hand, what is a clause? A clause is also a group of words, but it makes complete sense, always has a verb. Here, sunset clause, it means a particular clause that stipulates the time period. What is the time period? Stipulated time period. 15-year, but that can be extended. It is something like flexible, not fixed. It is not that after 15 years, it is going to lapse after 15 years, initially 15 years. After that, that can be extended. Remember an important expression we have got for the first time. Considering the fraught history, when you see the combination, immediately you should be able to guess the part of speech. History is a noun. Fraught is what adjective? Fraught we have got so many times. You should have the meanings at your fingertips. Yesterday also I think we got one meaning. It means filled with. It takes a preposition with. I told yesterday also. Full of unpleasant things, filled with problems, difficulties, hardships. It also means worried, to be worried, to be anxious, to be worried, to be anxious. Fraught history, worried history of the struggle for women's reservation and several false starts, not in the real sense, false beginning, false start. Despite, again, you got to recollect the two important prepositions. Yes, you got yesterday. Who is that? Nagesh. Despite a common error, they gave many a time. A lot of people say despite of, that is not correct. After the preposition despite, you should not use the word of. And the second word with the same function, both express a contrast. In spite of, a lot of people write in spite of as two words, that is wrong. You should write as three separate words. And if you ask me, so what is the difference between these two? Because they have the same function. What is a function? Both express a contrast. The subtle difference, despite, is a little more formal than in spite of, a little more formal, than in spite of. Between the two, you have to choose a word for despite, not in spite of. Despite the Rajya Sabha passing it in 2010, it is laudatory that the first bill to be introduced in the new Sansad Bhavan has been passed. Which tense is this? It is in present perfect passive voice. They have passed the bill, active voice. The bill has been passed, passive voice. And there's one word here, even this word we have got many a time. I think we got last week. The Prime Minister lauded a group of people. Laud means what? Part of speech verb. It's a regular verb. Laud, lauded, lauded means what? Appreciate. You can also think of the word praise. When you think of the word praise, you got to recollect another important word. What is that? Flattery. What is the meaning of the word flattery? Flattery means false praise. That is a noun. False praise. There is a saying in English. What is it? Never fall for flattery. Never fall for false praise. Very dangerous. So this sentence talks about it is a good thing, laudatory, that the first bill to be introduced in the new Sansad Bhavan has been passed in the Lok Sabha, a positive development. Usually writers, editorials, they present something positive initially. After that, they present something negative, contrasting information. How do we express the contrast in English? There's so many words. We can use but, however, nevertheless, nonetheless, and also though, although. All these express a contrast. Here, the writer has chosen the word but its implementation will be delayed. That is a rub. Its implementation will be delayed. Which tense is that? Future tense, passive voice. Whenever you come across, I would like to tell you guys, casual learning is of no use. You got to be a smart learner. What is smart learning? Imagine you have come across a sentence in active voice. Immediately you have to think of the same sentence in passive voice. Or you have come across a sentence in passive voice, you have to think of the same sentence in active voice spontaneously. That will help in the long run. Another topic which is equally important, if you come across a sentence in direct speech or indirect speech, you should be able to guess. Imagine you got a sentence in indirect speech, you should be able to think of what it is in direct speech. If you do it regularly, then these two topics, which are very important, active voice, passive voice, direct, indirect, you will be able to answer many questions in the exam quickly. In the exam, it is not whether you can answer or not. It is not about whether you can answer or not. It is about how fast you can answer. That decides your selection. When you practice a lot, you can answer within no time, and that saves a few seconds. Every second matters when it comes to a stipulated time period. When there is stipulated time period like 20 minutes or 35 minutes, every second matters. So, what is the contrasting information? The problem, but its implementation will be delayed. Why? As it has been tied to two factors. Here, there's one important word. Again, you have to recollect four conjunctions. What are those? Because, since, as, for. These two are used when the reason is a strong reason. They all express a reason, but what is a subtle difference? These two express when the reason is a weak reason. In SBI, once they gave a question, he could not attend the meeting as his mother was serious. That is wrong. Mother serious, a strong reason. Then we cannot use as. What is the correct sentence? He could not attend the meeting because his mother was serious. That you have to remember or recollect. But its implementation will be delayed as it has been tied. Again, we have present perfect passive voice. They have tied it to something, two factors. It has been tied to two factors, present perfect passive voice. What are those two factors? Delimitation and the senses. Therein lies a rub. This also we have got for the first time. Therein lies a rub. There is a rub in that. We can also say that there are different patterns. But what does it mean? I'll try to make it simple and easy for you guys. There is a rub in that means there is a problem. There is a problem. There is a difficulty. Therein lies a rub. Means what? Therein lies the problem. What is the problem when it comes to implementation? Two factors. What are the two factors? One is delimitation and the other one is the census. Now, based on that, because of the delay, based on these two factors, the writer says it is unfortunate that implementation is being linked. Answer my question, which tense is this at the outset? When you see being, verb ing form, you have to tell yourself, usually exceptions are there, because we can use as nouns, as adjectives. It is a continuous tense. Which continuous tense is this? Present continuous tense. But is it active voice or passive voice? It is passive voice. Present continuous tense, passive voice. It is unfortunate that implementation is being linked. What is active voice? They are linking the implementation to something. They are linking the implementation. The implementation is being linked, passive voice, to delimitation. For this is an important word in this context, in this example. Why is it important? Generally, you all know if you take two words, one since, the other for. What are these two? Tell the part of speech. I'm sure you all know since and for, they are prepositions and they go with two tenses, important tenses. What are those two tenses? One is present perfect tense, the other one present perfect continuous tense. She has lived here since 2010, present perfect. She has been living here since 2010, present perfect continuous. But here they are used as prepositions. But the same two words can be conjunctions. Here, for is not a preposition, it has been used as a conjunction. It expresses a reason. I gave all the four, it is in front of you. What does it express? A reason. And weak reason. It is unfortunate that implementation is being linked to delimitation. For because the principle of having a third of seats reserved for women has nothing to do with the territorial limits of constituencies or the number of assembly or Lok Sabha constituencies in each state. They are trying to link it to delimitation. The writer says it is very unfortunate. Why is it unfortunate? They are not related. They have nothing to do with each other. This is an important expression. Imagine something happened and someone tries to accuse you or someone tries to blame you. Then you say, no, I have not done it. I have nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with that. Same way, the principle of having a third of seats reserved for women has nothing to do with the territorial limits of constituencies or the number of assembly or Lok Sabha constituencies in each state. These talk about the delimitation aspect. Women will thus not have access because it's a lengthy process based on that. What are the consequences? Women will thus not have access to 33% reservation in the 2024 general election. They're not going to have the reservation in 2024 general election because of two factors. What are the two factors? One is delimitation, the other one census, and they take a lot of time. The bill also mandates, already have got the word mandatory many a time. Mandatory adjective, mandate verb. What does it mean? If you know the meaning, you can write, that will help you in the long run. Compulsory, mandatory. Women will thus not have access to 33% reservation in the 2024 general election. The bill also mandates that as nearly as one third of the seats reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes will be set aside for women. There also, they're going to implement, they're going to keep aside, will be set aside. Is it active voice or passive voice? They will set aside something, future active voice. Something will be set aside by them, future passive voice. Here it is future tense, passive voice. Will be set aside for women. Now, the writer, the editor touches the response of the opposition. They have to touch it. The opposition is demanding. What is the demand of the opposition? The opposition is demanding an internal quota for women of other backward classes, OBC, but this should not be used as a ruse to delay implementation. So the opposition demands there should be an internal quota for women of other backward classes. The writer says, but this should not be used. Again, it is in passive voice. See, so many patterns, so many sentences in passive voice. They should not use active voice. They should not use something, active voice. Something should not be used, passive voice. But you have to recollect the functions of the helping verb should. It has two functions. What is the first one? It is used to advise, VISC, verb, or suggest someone. And if you ask me, sir, what is the difference between advise, suggest? Advise is general, suggest is specific. That is one function. What is the second function of this particular helping verb? It is used to express a possibility, but chances are more or less, chances are less. In English, we have four helping verbs to express a possibility. Three express are used when the chances are less. What are those three? Should, could, and might. And may also expresses a possibility, but the chances are more. Here it talks about the opposition is demanding present continuous and internal quota for women of other backward classes, but this should not be used as a ruse. A ruse means an important word, part of speech, noun, an act intended to deceive, an act intended to deceive. You can also think of the word a trick. A ruse means what? A trick. Chances are bleak. A trick. This should not be used as a ruse to delay implementation. In the meantime, what are they supposed to do? In the meantime, proposals should be fine tuned. Here again, we have passive voice. Proposals should be fine tuned to ensure that when it comes to an act, it is not mere tokenism for women's political representation. When it becomes an act, it should not be a mere tokenism. They have to fine tune, means what? They have to look at every aspect, take a holistic approach, look at every dimension. They have to take a multi pronged approach and make sure everything is in place and no discrepancies whatsoever. Then it will not be a tokenism, it will be a real intention will surface. There is one word here. I'm sure you all know the word token, part of speech noun. Tokenism also noun. But token behavior or token, better a combination, token response. What do you understand from this? Means casual, not serious. Someone says thank you, they're not serious. For the sake of it, they say. Then token thanks, not in the real sense. I will not teach in Telugu. Who is that? Minor mother. I will not teach in Telugu. This is a platform to improve your English. Then you have to listen to English. Only then you can improve. But initially, you may find it difficult. If you watch 1 or 2 weeks, you will be able to follow. Always try to raise your standards. Bilingual, what happens? You're not trying to raise your standards. You're trying to be in your comfort zone. We all want to be in our comfort zone. But when you try to be in your comfort zone, you cannot raise your standards. You cannot excel. It is easy to understand. My mother tongue is Telugu. I can teach in Telugu. Very easy for me to teach, very easy for you to understand. But for the last 25 years, I have been teaching English as a second language. I have never ever used any language other than English in my classes. What is the reason? When I use English all the time, I use a lot of words, I use a lot of patterns, I use a lot of idioms. And when you listen based on the context, you will be able to grasp. That's what you have to do. You have to learn something based on the context. If I use Telugu, what will you learn? Only the meanings, nothing more, nothing less. This is not for learning meanings of the words. For that, there are so many channels. I am not here for that purpose. I hope it is clear. Minor mother, please respond. I know your problem. Your problem initially, if I use English all the time, you may find it difficult, but you're all graduates. Being a graduate, if you say, I cannot understand English, it is not acceptable. Perhaps initially, yes, justified because of the rural background, because of regional language, because of lack of exposure, fine. But how long you want to be in your comfort zone? At some point, you have to change. Change is inevitable. Let me continue, but the student has not responded, waited for his response. Anyhow, we'll go back to the editorial. Here, it should not be a mere tokenism for the sake of it. It should help women in the real sense. It is a fact that local bodies are better represented with the share of women in Panchayati Raj institutions well above 50% in several states. This is something really. UPSC student, you got to listen. You are here. Good. I appreciate that. You will get benefited beyond any doubt. We are talking about 33% of reservation. But when you go to the grassroots level, grassroots means what? The lowest level when you take a society, the lowest rung. That is really surprising. It is a fact that local bodies are better represented, where the share of women in Panchayati Raj institutions well above 50% of the 50% in several states. That is wonderful. On how the next sentence talks about lessons must be imbibed. There's an important word. All of you, imbibe is a, let me not, imbibe is a verb. It's a regular verb. Imbibe means what? Let me complete this. Imbibe. It's an important word. Please listen to infuse and also pump in. Pump in informal English. Infuse a better word. Imbibe. What does it mean? And the combinations are very important. We say you should imbibe values, ethics, discipline, patriotism. What do you understand? You have to imbibe values. Means what? You have to put in values into the mind of an individual. Imprint. That's also a good word. Madhav. Very good. Imbibe, it says, based on this, lessons must be imbibed on how women at the grassroots level have broken all sorts of barriers from patriarchal mindsets at home to not being taken seriously in their official duties and made a difference. Many women broke the social barriers, all sorts of barriers, and some of the barriers from patriarchal mindset. Here you have to recollect the root word, pater. Pater means what? Thank you very much, Nagesh. It means father. And matter, not double T, single T, means what? Mother. Patriarchal, father is the head of the family. Matriarchal, mother is the head of the family. From patriarchal mindsets at home to not being taken seriously in their official duties and glass ceiling made a difference. And the writer touches the other dimensions women suffer. Women struggle on so many other counts. What are the other problems they encounter? They have uneven access to health, nutrition, and education. There is a lack of safe places. Safety is always a concern. When a girl or a woman goes out till she comes back, there is some sort of concern, back of the mind. Women are also falling out of the workforce. This is a bit surprising for me. Women are also falling out of the workforce, the writer says, and to justify that statement, provides an example. What is that? Among the G20 countries, India's female labor force participation is the lowest at 24%. That is for justification of that statement. Falling out of the workplace. Now, how does the editorial end? India, which gave women voting rights at the very outset. I use this regularly at the outset, means at the beginning. Should not falter. Falter, we have got a few times. Part of speech, it's also a regular verb. Falter, faltered, faltered. It has two different meanings. One meaning, to become weak. Second meaning, to lose momentum. Initial momentum, you lose, then falter. But actually, it goes with speech. Someone cannot speak properly. That's right, Manasa. That's a good word, good expression. You may get as a passage. Male chauvinism. Here, speech. Some people cannot speak fluently. They take a lot of pauses. And then also we say, imagine someone has given a speech, not a proper speech. What do you say? A faltered speech. We also use the word fumble. Fumble also you have to recollect. The editorial says India, which gave women voting rights at the very outset, should not falter when it comes to ensuring better political representation for women. They have to make sure it happens. For growth and instituting change in key areas, women need to have their say. When it comes to growth, when it comes to instituting change in key areas, women need to have their say. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Manasa. That's all about the editorial. Today, for a change, I would like to have your feedback. Yesterday, I brought the questions and the answers. Today, I have brought the questions with options. You have to answer these questions. And we start the practice questions based on comprehension. Then we go to exam topics. Question one. When was the Women's Reservation Bill first tabled in Parliament? Easy questions to begin with. I always believe in systematic approach. What is systematic approach? Simple to complicated, easy to difficult, interesting to not so interesting. So, what is the answer? You should be able to. You have listened to me. You should be able to answer. When was the Women's Reservation Bill first tabled in Parliament? Answer is B, almost 3 decades ago. Very good. Question number 2. What is the 128th Constitution Amendment Bill and what does it propose? This is also an easy one, all easy questions, but we have just started. Strictly speaking, Pandu says 27 years ago. Good. Please mention the question number to avoid confusion. Second one, what is the 128th Constitution Amendment Bill and what does it propose? Obviously, the editorial is all about reservation for women. A bill to reserve 1/3 of Lok Sabha seats for women. Answer is C. Question 3. Why is there a delay in the implementation? Always when you try to look for the answer, focus on the key words in the question. Why is there a delay in the implementation of the Women's Reservation Bill? The editorial says there are two factors. What are those two factors? Please mention the question number. Only then I'll be able to respond. What are the two factors that may delay? Question number 3. Why is there a delay? Because it is tied to factors like, what are the two factors? Delimitation and the census. Answer is B. Question number 4. What additional provision does the Women's Reservation Bill make regarding seats for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes? This is also an easy question. What additional provision does the Women's Reservation Bill make regarding seats for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes? You guys have been getting. Please go to. It reserves all seats for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes? No. It reserves 1/3 of seats for women from scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Answer is C. The last question, what does the article suggest regarding women's representation in local bodies? The editorial touches women's representation when it comes to Panchayati Raj, local bodies. So what is it? What is the percentage? Question talks about the percentage. When it comes to their representation. What does the article suggest regarding women's representation in local bodies? 5 is also C. Women's representation in local bodies exceeds 50%. That's really good. 50% and above. Good. I want to have your feedback, 1 word or 2 words. Now let us go to, you could give now or you could give later after the session. Practice questions based on yesterday's editorial. You should be able to get, you should get all the questions and should not be that difficult because of familiar context. However, after the acrimonious means what? Bitter. Acrimonious fight. Acrimonious. Exactly, you're right, Anusha. This pattern is fascinating, sir. Thank you, Pandu. In a way, I can engage you guys. That's what I want to do all the time. Active, you can become active listeners, active learners. It was gripping. Good. Tripura Sundari. Anusha has answered. Good, Nagesh. Thanks for the feedback. Naidu also has got it right. However, after the acrimonious Trudeau-Modi meeting and the latest allegations by Mr. Trudeau, diplomacy niceties. Niceties is a noun, and diplomacy is also a noun. We cannot use two nouns next to each other. Before a noun, we have to use an adjective. What is the adjective form of this? Diplomacy or diplomatic? Diplomatic niceties. Very good. And this question is based on what I call word forms. Quite often, bank exams, SSC, they ask questions based on word forms. New Delhi must also consider how it wished to proceed on its ties with Canada. New Delhi must also consider what? How it wished to proceed on its ties with Canada. Keep doing like this, Kalavati Bala. Sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. What is the subject over here? New Delhi, third person singular, and the sentence, the clause is in present tense, and you have to recollect the rule. What is the rule? If the sentence or clause is in present tense, affirmative, and the subject is third person singular, we should add s or es to the verb. Based on that, wish is not correct. Wishes. It wishes to proceed on its ties with Canada based on subject verb agreement. The first step at such a fraught moment has to be some cold reflection over the next steps. Let's see how you're going to handle question number 3. I'm waiting eagerly. There's a reason for that. The first step at such a fraught moment, worried moment, anxious moment, has to be helping verb, some cold reflection over the next steps. No one has responded. Question number 3. Over the next steps, where do you have this at the next time? No, that is not right. Second part is not correct. Nothing wrong with that. Has to be some cold reflection. Nothing wrong. Who is this? Ramesh is the first one to get it right. Please respect the fifth option. After that, Nagesh also. There is no error whatsoever. Then I see Maunika, Sukumar, all these. Wonderful. Not easy under pressure. Question number 4. For Mr. Trudeau, the priority must be to publicly prove his very seriously allegations or admit he is unable to. No error. Answer is the third option. For a change, I brought the sentence as it is. Always respect the fifth option. Don't ignore the fifth option. This is an easy one. Question number 4. For Mr. Trudeau, the priority must be to publicly prove his very seriously allegations. Allegations is a noun, and before a noun, we cannot use an adverb. We have to use an adjective. What is the adjective form of the word? Serious allegations. This is also based on word forms. Word form. Serious allegations. Now you have a para jumble, 6 parts. You have to get the correct order. Based on yesterday's editorial, and try to take elimination approach. Tying the killing cannot be the first one. Canadian Prime Minister could be the first one. Hold that. Has set off, no subject, cannot be considered. Two agents cannot be considered. Conjunction cannot be considered. Mr. Trudeau's accusation, perhaps you can. You have to decide between B and F. What is the first one here? B is the first one. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's startling allegation, very surprising allegation. What is that allegation? Anusha has got the second one as well. A is the second one, comma, startling allegation, comma, tying the killing of Canadian Khalistani leader Hardeep Singh in June. Tying the killing of Canadian someone in June, but you have to look for the connecting preposition. Tying the killing of someone, what is the preposition? Tie something. Once you know the preposition, you can answer. Trying the killing to. To is a preposition. Exactly. D is a third one. To agents of the Government of India marks a new low in their unraveling ties. Investigate and find a solution, unravel and undo when something is entangled. BAD. What is the fourth one? Again, it is about Mr. Trudeau's accusation. Mr. Trudeau's accusation. What is that accusation? He said evidence had been shared with India and also raised in a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi last weekend has set off a chain of events. Mr. Trudeau's accusation, all these words in brackets. Mr. Trudeau's accusation has set off a chain of events. And what is the correct order? BADFEC. Good. Now you have a cloze test from awareness point of view. You see how many blanks. Here 4. Next slide also 4. Total 8 words. So I wanted to provide all the 8 words on each slide. You have to select the appropriate word. Next slide also you have 4 blanks. After Canada, 1D, expelled, very good. After Canada expelled a senior Indian diplomat, India summoned the Canadian High Commissioner and expelled Canada's station chief for intelligence on Tuesday. The US and Australia, partners with Canada in the Five Eyes intelligence sharing agreement, have expressed a deep what? Concerns. B is the answer. Deep concerns over the issue. The External Affairs Minister has also what? Third one you have to choose. Has also accused, very good, has also accused Canadian diplomats of anti-India activities, indicating that more diplomats may be under scrutiny. Very good. Continuation of the same text and of Canadian, here it says, while the Canadian government has spoken about the violation of the international rule of law and of Canadian what? You have to go to the fifth one. No one has responded the fifth one. Scrutiny. Here, fifth one is C. And of Canadian sovereignty, which could not outlast. You have to practice every day, Abhiram. Which Abhiram is this? Which could invoke, bring into effect, invoke other areas of confrontation. Given the support Mr. Trudeau received from his political, an easy one, what is the combination? Political rivals in Parliament, remarks critical of India by leaders such as those two leaders, it is also likely that the chill will, what are you left with? Outlast this government if voted out in elections due in 2025. Who has got all the 8 correct? Chill will outlast. That's right. And I wanted to tell you guys, some guys have been asking for the PDF. Please listen to me for a minute. In the past, I would give the PDF. Nowadays, I'm not giving. There's a reason behind. I said I would bring out a magazine, e-zine, because of man shortage of manpower. It has been, I have been holding it. Within a couple of days, I'm going to bring out e-zine, and you can get the e-zine. Initially, I'm not going to charge, and it is a weekly publication, online publication. All the important aspects based on a particular week, exam topics, editorials, all these, that's what I'm talking about. All these will be given to students for some time. Initially, I will not charge. Later, I may charge. Startle, surprise a lot. Part of speech, verb. It's a regular verb. Startle, startled, startled. Unravel, that's also a regular verb. First one you have answered. Answer the second one. Thank you. Thank you very much. Resolve, a new word. Descriptive English class. Who is this? Nagendrama. I will do it, Nagendrama. This week, before this weekend. I will definitely do that. Unravel, one meaning, when something got entangled, you try to take it out. One meaning. Investigate and find a solution, another meaning. Someone has written, resolve, make something free. That is also right. Sovereignty, it goes with a country. India is a sovereign country. Means what? Politically independent, not controlled by any external force. Invoke is also a regular verb. It has two or three meanings. One meaning, bring into effect. Bring into effect. Fraught, part of speech, adjective. Filled with, independent country. You can say that. Provoke, incite, instigate. Yes, yes, I got it, Nagendrama. Don't feel bad about asking so many times. I have to feel bad. I have a very tight schedule, hectic schedule. I'm not able to squeeze in time. I will do it this weekend. Haven, part of speech, noun. A safe place, place of safety, place of Hail Modi. It has two different meanings. Will talk. Let me complete this. And also, you can use the word refuge. Hail has two different meanings. One meaning, the place from where you come. He hails from Chandigarh. He hails from, yesterday, one student hails from Punjab, and north, the north, another student. One meaning. Hail, another meaning, to praise. But you have to think of one more combination. What is it? Hailstorm. What is this hailstorm? Hailstorm means sometimes when it rains, you see small ice cubes. Then you have to say hailstorm. And acrimonious, part of speech, adjective, means bitter. It goes with acrimonious argument, acrimonious fight, acrimonious, negative connotation. Niceties, obviously part of speech, noun. Polite social behavior, aspect of polite social behavior. That's all about this for today. Hope you guys have got enriched. Do remember to subscribe and share. I will see you guys tomorrow. And give the feedback after the session also. If you wish to give the feedback, please do that. Don't hesitate. Thank you very much. The combination is diplomatic niceties. Write the combinations, you will be able to remember, and that will help in the long run.